Where did it all begin? The origin of the Master Sword, Zelda and Link's relationship, the earliest timeline in Hyrule lore, right here with Zelda Skyward Sword. Before we begin, I want to talk about some of the influences for this game. Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. Arguably, three of the best video games ever created were the inspiration for creating this game. It took 5 years to develop. Compare that with development times for some games now. Some of them are 8 to 10 years and they come out broken messes. So 5 years for this masterpiece is incredible. And the art style of the game was influenced by impressionistic painters like Paul Cézanne. So a pedigree unlike any other went into creating this game. The first game, the birth of Hyrule, the birth of the Master Sword, Zelda, and Link's relationship, very, very special. So the first thing we're going to talk about is story. So Skyward Sword takes place at the beginning of Zelda continuity. According to the legend, there are three ancient goddesses. They bestowed a great wish-granting power called the Triforce. There's a demon king, he's called Demise, and he conquered time itself, and he laid waste to much of the land, seeking to take the Triforce away from the goddess. Now the goddess gathered their survivors and sent them into the cloud, allowing her to fight the demon Demise. She was victorious, but the land was severely damaged, and years later, the outcrop in the sky is known as Skyloft, and its people believe that the surface below the clouds is only a myth. Now there is this knight in training called, you guessed it, Link, and after passing his final exam, despite attempted interference by his classmate, who considers himself a romantic rival for Link's childhood friend, again, you guessed it, Zelda, they have a celebratory flight together, and during that flight, Zelda is whisked away below the clouds by a dark tornado. After Link gets back to Skyloft, he is led to the island statue of Hylia to the goddess sword by Fi, the spirit of the sword who resides within it. Link draws the sword, showing himself to be the prophesized hero who will finally destroy Demise. He finds his way through the clouds to the surface, and then that is where the game begins. You are searching for Zelda. Next up, we're going to talk about gameplay. So if you've ever played Legend of Zelda, you know that it's a third-person action-adventure game, and Link has his trusty sword and shield, and you're going to hack, you're going to slash all your enemies, but there are some cool additions in this game. One, you get a whip a la Indiana Jones style, and you can use it to sort of traverse and swing across gaps and things like that. You can even attack the enemies with it. And you have this cool mechanical beetle that you can use to sort of get to areas that you can't get to, or even scout ahead and look at enemies and see where things are. You can grab chests and things like that, and you can even use the beetle to just fly right into the enemies and cause some damage that way. Now, during the quest, you're aided by the sword spirit Fi, who can give hints to the player for both environmental elements and enemies. And, for example, if you target an enemy and Fi is summoned, she gives you the enemy characteristics and weaknesses. So you can use Fi to sort of plan your attack. So what I like to do is use the beetle to scout ahead and then get up close, use Fi, scan the character, figure out their weakness, and use that against them. There's a lot of depth to the gameplay. And the best part is using all of these new tools together to give yourself a tailor-made experience in this game. And there's so much that you can do. There's so many different play styles that you just figure out on your own. So I'm sure when you're playing it, you'll approach these scenarios differently than I will, using all of these elements and all of these tools at your disposal. And you're going to want to get every resource that you possibly can in that game. That's where the beetle comes in. Things that you can't get to, places that you can't get to, but you can see some resources. You can use the beetle to get them, because your shield does take damage if you fail to block, and it can eventually break. So you're going to use those resources to upgrade all your items and all your equipment to make them stronger and more durable. But you're also going to need rupees. We all know what rupees are if we played Zelda before, and most of us should have played a Zelda game before. If you haven't, shame on you, but that is the gist of the gameplay and the things that you can expect when you're running around in Skyward Sword. Oh, also, Of course, you travel around on this giant bird called a Loftwing, and the game takes place on the floating island of Skyloft, and there are surrounding airborne islands. The surface, there are 3 overworlds where, again, the majority of the game takes place, but there are side quests for town citizens and stuff like that that you can do in the sky, on the ground, and some of those quests you have to do to complete the main game, but not all of them. So there's a lot to do in this game, both above and below, and it's just a joy. It really is a great, great game. And again, it's the beginning of the lore. It's the beginning of Zelda and Link's journey. It's the beginning, it's the origin of the Master Sword. So definitely something that you're going to want to check out. Next thing we're going to talk about is graphics. Now, when it comes to graphics, it's very subjective. I think back to Wind Waker, and people didn't like that art style. It was originally, shown off as being more realistic. But I think that the art style for Wind Waker really matched the tone of the game. And in this game, like I said, there are a lot of influences for the graphics here, and I think that they are absolutely beautiful. And I think it's a testament to the fact that Nintendo never has the most powerful hardware, but during this era, this game looked phenomenal on the system. And you think of Breath of the Wild now and how amazing that game looks. I mean, there are games that don't look that good from an artistic standpoint. Yes, technically there are games that do things better in terms of resolution and frame rate, polygon count, but the totality of everything that comes together in these games is, and I know it's going to sound a bit like I'm fanboying out a bit, but I really think that these games are perfect. I really do. I think everything comes together. If you want something with a great story, if you want something with great graphics, great art style, great gameplay, great music, these games are unmatched. So Skyward Sword, to me, is really special, not just because it's the beginning of the lore in the Zelda timeline. You learn a lot about the Master Sword, Link and Zelda's relationship, and just the fact that it is the beginning of everything, and you're going to want to play that if you're into Zelda, or if you're just getting into Zelda, you're going to want to check that out. But the graphics in this game are just extremely good. I mean, this is sort of like artists at the top of their game, and it's never really about the power. It's just about everyone working together to make something special, and this game is absolutely beautiful. When you're soaring around on the Loftwing, it's breathtaking. I can't imagine how breathtaking it's going to be in HD on the Switch. This is one you're going to want to check out, buy it, play it, and absolutely, absolutely love it. Zelda Skyward Sword, the HD remake on the Switch. I can't wait for it. Let me know what you think in the comments section below about this game or any of the Zelda games. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.